Hello, I'm Marie Burns. I wanted to visit with you a little bit today about the term positive intelligence. You've likely heard of IQ, intelligence quotient, a test for measuring our intelligence relative to others our age, or EQ, the emotional quotient. It's more of a measurement of our ability to identify and manage our emotions and the emotions of other people around us. But have you heard of PQ? It stands for Positive Intelligence Quotient. It's a measure of the times that our mind has positive versus negative thoughts. Why should we care about this? It can make all the difference in realizing our potential in life, enjoying more happiness in life, and determining how healthy our relationships are in life. There's been extensive research that's found that we can live a healthier, happier, longer life if 75% or more of our thoughts are positive versus negative. So you can quickly find out the good news in 2 minutes or less, literally, where you are currently by taking this free PQ assessment at positiveintelligence.com. That assessment is actually what prompted me to read the book by the same name, Positive Intelligence, by Shirzad Chamine, and then take the 6-week course to learn even more. And now I'm working on trying to practice the techniques that can improve our PQ score. My score actually increased from the beginning of the class to the end of the class by 20 points. And now I'm trying to just help share that information to help others become more aware of the amazing benefits. My additional ulterior motive for looking further into this power of positive intelligence was to find a way to help women use it as a healthy way to approach money and their personal finances overall, because money is still the #1 stressor, at least here in the United States. And too often it's one of those taboo topics, which is why women regularly tell me, I have no one else to talk to about this. We've discussed in past blogs the impact of our childhood and relationships and the impact that's had on our money mindset. So now that we've acknowledged that, let's talk about leveraging those childhood and relationship experiences in order to adapt and improve our PQ, our positive intelligence quotient. So leveraging, we know, means using something we already have, like those memories and experiences, in order to make something better. So we already have our past childhood experiences, for example. We can't do anything about changing how that went, good or bad, but we're accepting the fact that we had those memories and experiences, and because of that, we're actually influenced for a lot of the rest of our life. I'll never forget, for example, there was a very graphic story that one of my podcast guests shared about a time when she was 8 years old. It was a really negative experience, but she leveraged it to motivate herself in a really positive way for the rest of her life. So how can you leverage your past or use your PQ score to adapt to a more positive money mindset? The answer actually lies in remembering how our brain works. Remember, to live through the caveman days long ago, our brain was wired to survive. So to save time and possibly your own life at that time, our brain was really capable of making these very quick feel, react responses. Feel fear and run, or feel fear and attack, and maybe bring home dinner in the process, for example. No thinking was required. Today, however, we're not quite in that same need to survive mode. And yet our brain goes through most of our days in that same feel, react mode. Still no thinking required. But if we can force our brain to pause, instead of immediately reacting, we can engage what they call the thrive part of our brain, where we can make conscious decisions with the potential for more positive outcomes. So within the pause is where we have an opportunity to practice this positive mindset technique. So how do we force a pause? Well, positive intelligence research has found that breathing with a sensory focus can cause enough of a pause to allow you to make a conscious decision to act differently. And that starts to carve this new habit pathway in our brain instead of that typical feel, react, ingrained pathway. So what does breathing with a sensory focus look like? It's been found that 3 deep breaths can reset the brain. It slows that automatic feel, react pathway. So then while you are taking those breaths, you kind of almost distract your mind by focusing on one of your senses. And that distraction helps to calm and quiet our mind chatter. So the sensory focus can be anything from that common awareness of cold going in the nose, excuse me, and warm air going out. Or maybe you're more of a visual person and you can visualize more focused by looking at something in front of you and noticing the colors and the shapes and the contrasts. Or maybe you prefer to use your auditory, your ears, and listening to the furthest away sound or the nearest sound while you're breathing. Or one of my favorites is actually touching your fingertips together. You can even do it when they're in your lap. So if you're on a Zoom meeting, nobody can see you, but you're touching your fingertips together and focusing on that sensation, even as you slide your fingertips down and across your palm. So again, it's one of those senses that you're focusing on while you're breathing. So once your mind and breath has slowed down, you can choose to be in the thrive part of your brain by acting on one of actually many positive intelligence techniques. Now, I'm not an expert, so I'm going to just give an example of one technique, and that's called the gift or opportunity. It teaches you to look for the gift or opportunity in a situation. My podcast guest, for example, she took her negative child experience as an ongoing opportunity to pause and remind herself of her resolve to be financially independent because of that memory. So she looked for the good and the opportunity in that experience. Another example might be what is often a very common experience for some widows whose spouse used to take care of all the finances. So when they start to feel anxious about having to act on money-related decisions now, taking 3 deep breaths with a sensory focus can force a pause. And then in that pause, a decision can be made to recognize the good intentions that the gift of that deceased spouse was providing. And that in turn is now also providing an opportunity for you to become more comfortable learning about being financially independent. It's like everything though, it's all about practice. So we can practice the pause by practicing breathing with a sensory focus throughout your day. That way, you're actually building up and strengthening this PQ muscle. Then you can quickly and easily shift into that breathing pause during a financially stressful time. I hope you'll give it a try. Positive intelligence approach is really a great way to enjoy less worry and more life.